a land acknowledgement. We'd like to acknowledge that we are gathering on this land in the region of Peel, which is part of the treaty lands in the territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credits. For thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land. In particular, we'd like to recognize that this is the territory of the Anishinaabe, the Huron, the Ojibwe, and that this land is home to the Métis, and most recently the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credits First Nation, who are the direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credits. And we are grateful to have this opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so we give our respect to its first inhabitants. I'd also like to specifically thank the Multan Masjid for organizing this Janazah service and for the incredible support, spiritual support that they have provided the Choudhary family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we alternate days of good and evil, days of fortune and misfortune amongst the people, so that God may reveal true believers and that He may choose martyrs from amongst you. God is the one who creates and He is the one who chooses. He decides the days of fortune or misfortune that we will experience. And it is in His divine wisdom that He chose to take Ejaz Choudhary as a martyr. And in doing so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to elevate Uncle Ejaz and to exalt his status and to raise his rank in paradise. And in doing so, God has also chosen to test the family with this sudden and tragic loss, so that they can turn to Him in patience, in divine perseverance, and in hope for reward from Him. And God has chosen to test His community, His city, His nation, and each and every one of us, to see whether or not we will recognize the injustice that has been committed against Him, and whether or not we will speak for a man who is now voiceless, to see whether we will assume the responsibility of using whatever that is at our disposal to ensure that this terrible injustice is never again repeated, or whether we will allow it to pass, like the deaths of so many others, black, brown, indigenous, those with disabilities, who lost their lives at the hands of those who were meant to serve and protect them. Ejaz Choudhary is one of many. Chantel Moore, Rodney Levy, Regis Pershinsky Paquette, Ian Price, Abdurrahman Ibrahim Hassan, DeAndre Campbell, Jermaine Carby, Pierre Corleone, Abdurrahman Abdi, Suleiman Faqiri, and many more. And there will be those who will make every attempt to put the victims on trial. That the fault of these tragedies is their skin color, or their economic class, or their language, or their disability. They will attempt to make the fault lie on the victim and not in the system. But we cannot, and we will never waver in our support. Mental health should not be a death sentence. Black and brown skin or indigenous heritage should never be a death sentence. It is not the victims who should be put on trial. If the system keeps making the same mistakes, if the system keeps resulting in black and brown and indigenous peoples and peoples with disabilities ending up dead at the hands of police, then at what point should the system be put on trial? Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent as rahmatan lil alameen. He was sent as a mercy to all of humanity. And that's why we need to continue to strive for every victim. It does not matter if they are Muslim or not. It doesn't matter if they are Pakistani or Arab or black or brown or indigenous. This is a human problem. This is a national crisis. And we will never walk away from it. We will never walk away from our support of the Choudhary family and our support of every family that has been crushed by a system that was not designed with compassion for them. To every political leader, to every person with authority in this country of ours, hear this message of ours. The time for action is now. You cannot show your face to our communities, in our streets, in our mosques, every 4 years when it's time to vote, and turn your ears away from us when we are screaming and pleading for help. Right now is the time to act. This is the time to earn our trust. This is the time to show leadership in a world that is spinning due to injustice. To the Choudhary family, to Uncle Ejaz's wife and his children and his siblings and his nephews and his nieces, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the God Almighty, does not burden a soul with more than it can bear. Know that with hardship comes ease. Know that Allah's wisdom overcomes our human knowledge. Know that His will is greater than our understanding. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests those whom He loves. That the prophets and the messengers were tested, that they lost family, that they were born as orphans. Know that Allah is good, and that He is subtle, and that He often brings good in ways that we can never anticipate or imagine. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, is the Lord and the caretaker of those who are orphans. Know that God is more merciful with His creation than a compassionate mother is with her children. And know that Allah has blessed you with a community that is with you, a community whose hearts are tied to your hearts. We are with you, and I pray that His children are going to grow up and know that this community, or see that this community has fulfilled its collective responsibility to you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept him as a shaheed and enter him into His paradise and forgive us for our shortcomings. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Justice for Ejaz.
Justice for Ejaz. Justice for Ejaz.
Justice for Ejaz.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good evening. My name is Nadia Hassan, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the National Council of Canadian Muslims. We're all here today for one thing. We're here to pray for Ejaz Choudhary. He was a beloved husband, a brother, an uncle, father of 4 children, a man whose body was riddled with ailments, a regular at his local Malton Masjid, a man who suffered from schizophrenia for a long time, a friendly face in the neighborhood who seems to have built a deep, deep connection with everyone he met, and we can tell by everyone who is in attendance today, subhanAllah. Ejaz uncle was all of these things and more, until his life was cut short by the actions of those who were called to help him. As we have seen and heard over the last few days, his family, friends, and neighbors are completely dumbfounded. None of this adds up for them. This doesn't make any sense. There are so many questions that people are asking right now, so much information that just doesn't make sense. But the one question that I've heard again and again is this: how can a cry for help end like this? The question itself tells us a story. It tells us a story about our collective humanity and how we care for our most vulnerable. A story about a system that was not built to let someone like Ejaz Choudhary thrive and live a full life. A story about a trust shattered between a community and those who were meant to serve and protect them. I want you to take a moment to imagine what it will be like the next time there's a cry for help in this community. Just imagine the thoughts that will race through their heads about whether or not they should even call for help. Imagine the fear that will grip them when they realize that they have no other option but to call for help. And imagine the exacerbating effects of this collective anxiety on the community and on the person who needs the help. This is a recipe for disaster. This cannot be who we are as a society. Yet here we are. We have an opportunity here to send a clear message that such acts of police violence have no place in any community, and they have no place here in Peel. This is not who we are, and this is not who we should be. Chief Nishan Durayappa, you have an opportunity here to send an unequivocal message. The community needs to hear from you, loud and clear, that what happened on Saturday is not the way police should respond to a cry for help. At a minimum, the officer who killed Ejaz Choudhary, at a minimum, should never again be able to carry a gun or a badge. Nothing less will do. The time for studies, the time for research is over. The time for action is now, and we're calling on you to take action right now. I want to take a moment to talk to Ejaz Choudhary's family. I know they're back over there. I don't know if some of the folks can move out of the way so they can see. I want to talk to his family, to his brothers and sister, his nephews and nieces, his friends and neighbors. I want to tell you this, that your pain is our pain, and that you're not alone. To Rina Baji, to Nimra, to Hasib, to Umar, to Muiz, हम सब आपके साथ हैं. इंसाफ मिलने के लिए हम सबको लंबा और मुश्किल रास्ता चलना पड़ेगा, और हम सब आपके साथ ये रास्ता चलने के लिए तैयार हैं. The NCCM is here for you. The Muslim community of Peel is here for you. And you have the support of Canadians from coast to coast. And we won't back down. There will be justice for Ejaz uncle, inshallah. May he rest in peace. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. To God we belong, and to him we shall return. Thank you.
Justice for Ejaz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Mohammed Fiqi. I'm the founder of Paramount Fine Food. I've been serving and am proud to be a Muslim Canadian for the last 20 years. Thank you so much for the family for asking me to speak today. This is a moment of grief, of great sadness. And yes, for many of us, it is also a moment of anger. To those who loved Ejaz, I wish you peace. We cannot know your pain. We'll never feel it. But we stand with you arm in arm, in solidarity and in full support. We are with you and with him, a gentle and a kind man, devout and loved. Today, many of us are asking the same questions. What if Ejaz were not a Muslim? What if he were a wealthy man? Would the outcome have been the same? In his time of need, would he have been treated the same by the police?
No.
Since April, black, brown, and indigenous people have been killed by police in Canada.
Shame.
In moments like this, it is always tempting to ask ourselves, what if? And the more important the question is, what now? How do we ensure that justice is served? How do we ensure the police are kept accountable? In recent times, we have seen the power that people have when they come together, when they join together and demand better policing and a better way forward. And today, we seek answers. We need answers today. And with those answers, we will seek justice. We do expect much more from our politicians. There must be accountability for actions of this kind. And there must be an understanding, a new understanding, that we will not tolerate the kind of law enforcement that starts with a call for help and ends in violence and pain and a life lost. No matter our heritage, our background, our color, our faith, the police should be the ally of the citizens. The police exist to protect, not to provoke. They exist to serve us, not to scare us. They are supposed to maintain the peace, not inflame and escalate. Today, we join together in mourning with the family of Ejaz Choudhary. Tomorrow and beyond, we must stand together in demanding real and meaningful change. Let us raise our voices. Let us speak up and speak out and say as one, all of us as one Canadian family, no more. We demand the justice for Ejaz. And now, we demand accountability now and in the future. Ejaz was alone on Saturday. But today, we are here to tell you, and we are all here, and across this city, across this country, you're not alone. We're telling your family you're not alone. And we're telling everyone that's facing injustice you're not alone. We stand with him. We walk with him. And we carry his memory. We do this in respect, in mourning, and in a shared belief that justice must be served and real and lasting change must be achieved. Thank you so much.
Sorry, brother. Sorry, Akhi.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I would like to say Jazakallah for coming out today to attend the janazah of our uncle Ejaz Choudhary. Over here we have all of Uncle Ejaz's nephews and nieces, and we also have his son Moise and his daughter Nimra. The community has shown so much support because of how upsetting the murder of my uncle was. But not just because of the murder, but because of how great of a person he was. Majority of the people here actually knew who he was. And it's great. We're grateful that we see that he made such an impact in this community. My uncle would sit outside his building at 3425 Morningstar Drive, and he would just sit on the corner, sit on the steps, sit on the rocks, play with little kids, give them Timbits, give them donuts, buy them ice caps. He loved Tim Hortons. He loved to go and buy kids food, drinks, make sure they're happy, especially for his own family as well. He was a harmless 62-year-old man who was a father of 4. His youngest, 7-year-old Moise, who stands with us today, who's been given the courage to stand with us today by all of you here. How many more killings are going to happen before we hold the police accountable? How many? How many families are they going to leave without fathers? How many 7-year-olds are they going to leave without fathers? Why wasn't there a legitimate effort to de-escalate the situation? These are questions we're asking. We want answers for. and no, we're not getting any. And it's upsetting. It's upsetting for us as a family. It's upsetting for his children, for his wife, but also for the community as a whole. Because we've come together as one. The family is not alone on this, and I hear that. I felt that we were on the first day, but an hour later, I realized that, listen, the whole community is with us. Every single person came out, showed support. Elderly, young kids, because of how great and how harmless of a man my uncle was. Moi's over here, his 7-year-old son, the other day asked me, when is my Baba coming home from the hospital? What am I supposed to say to him? I have no answer. Yesterday I had to watch my uncle's daughter sit and ask. All I did was call for help. She called for help. And instead, my father was murdered. She felt responsible for it. But how do I tell her that it's not her fault? It's the system that's designed to be against us. The entire system is designed to be against the public, but the system was built for the public. My uncles, aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters, kids have all been mourning for 4 days. 4 days with no sleep, with barely any food, barely any water, marching, and we're still not heard. When are they going to stand up and take accountability? That's the main question. We ask that the officer that committed this crime be fired.
Must be arrested.
He must be fired. The reason why...
They must be arrested.
He must be arrested and charged.
They must be arrested.
He's a criminal.
The reason why is because we don't want him to go out and murder another father. Murder another uncle. He could have been your father. He could have been your brother. He could have been your uncle.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Today I want to thank you for joining our family in demanding answers. And not just coming here for the prayer, but also standing up for us in justice. You have come here for 2 purposes. One, to show that you're here with us as a family. To show that you're here to pray for my uncle and his akhirah. And second, you're here to demand justice. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give my uncle Jannah. And may his death bring justice to us all.
Justice for Ejaz.
Justice for Ejaz.
Justice for Ejaz. Everybody. Justice for Ejaz. Justice for Ejaz. Justice for Ejaz.
Can we get the brothers inshallah to stand up and form the rows? Inshallah we will, God willing, very soon perform the Salatul Janazah. Very quickly before we start the Salatul Janazah, I just want